that would be informing our conversations on the show would quickly join Moses Idika, public affairs commentator, to get his views on these developing stories. Hello, good morning to you, Mr. Moses. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me too?
Very well. It's a pleasure to have you join us on the program.
Yeah, mine too. Thank you for having me.
Now let's dig straight into the conversations making the rounds, and quite understandably one of the controversial stories of the day. Whilst most Nigerians are not abreast with the workings of the rules guiding the 10th Assembly, the Senate Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct and Petitions recommended a 6-month suspension for Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, which was upheld following a voice vote on the floor of the Red Chambers yesterday. She is hereby also stripped of all her privileges, salaries and allowances for this period. Her office is also to be locked as well. What do you make of this resolution of the 10th Assembly?
Well, it's a hard one because for me, I think it was an overkill because you realize that they even extended the punishment to her aides. The recommendation said that even the aides of the lawmaker should not be paid their statutory salaries.
That was reversed. That was reversed following interventions from Senator Ned Woko and his colleagues. It was reversed. The aides would receive their salary now.
That's neither here nor there. I think that the Senate, a lot of Nigerians actually believe that the Senate is trying to sweep the allegations under the carpet. And I think that what should have happened is for the Senate itself to set up a committee to look into this. Because remember, the very first time the altercation became public, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan has said that she was removed from the committee she was heading before, and there was that reshufflement. Even though the President of the Senate has that prerogative as the chairman of the selection committee to make changes in Senate committee leadership. But for the lawmaker, I mean the Kogi lawmaker, to take her altercation with the President of the Senate back to what happened in removing her from the committee she was in to another committee, it means that there is somewhat a deeper side of the story that neither Akpoti nor the President of the Senate or his handlers are telling Nigerians about. So I think that the 6-month suspension, salary suspension and all that is unfair on the part of the people that she's representing.
Now, Mr. Moses, I don't know if you followed the events of yesterday. The Senate did tell Nigerians why they recommended 6 months, and it was owing to a blatant refusal by Natasha Akpoti to grant the committee an audience. The Senate had mandated the Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct and Petition to take a listen to the matter. She did not appear before the committee. That was one of the offenses. On the other hand, the rules, as captured in section 40, order 40 of the Senate's rule, says that such petitions ought to be signed by another senator. She flouted that and signed it by herself. So those were the two premises on which they recommended that punishment, not on the reaction to her removal from the committee or the seat reassignment.
No, I'm not saying that the immediate suspension is because of, I'm telling you that from the beginning, from the day that it became public that there was some misgiving between the two lawmakers, the President of the Senate and Senator Natasha Akpoti, that she made reference to the point that she was unjustly, in quote, removed from the committee she was a member or heading. That tells you that there is even more, there may be more. What I'm saying is that I think
Hello, Mr. Moses. Well, it may seem that we are having a little bit of a technical difficulty there with your network, Mr. Moses, but hopefully we'll get to rejoin or reconnect with you in just a moment. I think the point he was trying to make is actually tilting. He's actually tilting towards the fact that the Senate had pushed or technically pushed Senator Natasha Akpoti out of the National Assembly so that the issue would be swept under the carpet. But even before the sexual harassment allegation, there were already pending issues that were not in her favor, which many people believe was the reason for her disgruntlement and the reason for this sort of statement that she made against the Senate president that had sparked off, all of this row at the moment. But I really wish he had stable network to make more comments on this. But at the end of the day, the matter which she was suspended for and the issue at hand, which is the sexual harassment allegation, have no correlation whatsoever. These are entirely two different cases, and of course an opportunity had presented itself for her to issue a petition or submit a petition against the Senate president, which she did, but also did not adhere to the rules and guidelines of the Senate by appending her own personal signature on that particular petition. So from all angles, if you take a look at it, it's more like shooting herself in the leg while trying to push or drive a point home with regards to her disgruntlement over what the Senate president had done by removing her from that committee.
In a way, I'm kind of grateful for issues like this to help Nigerians intimate themselves with the proceedings of the National Assembly, because before now, a lot of Nigerians watch from afar. But if you watch in the last few days, the number of views and interactions that the official YouTube page of the National Assembly has garnered, many Nigerians are now understanding that the Senate is guided by rules. Up until now, a lot of persons thought that the red pamphlets that most of the senators were holding was just another document on the table. But it was important to see that in the few days, almost every senator, before they make their points, refers to an order in the rule book before they proceed. And much like yesterday, more explanation was given as to why this was the case. In the course of the show, I'm very sure we'll also grant our viewers the opportunity to take a listen to some of the positions as made by Senator Chris Ekpeyong, others also made by Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, who is the Senate spokesman. But whilst we're looking to re-establish this connection with our guest this morning, Moses, let's take a listen to one of the positions as made by Senator Chris Ekpeyong, who has commented on the matter. This is in keeping with some of the decisions of the 10th Senate in a suspension where a lot of persons are wondering, did it emanate from her disgruntlement over seat arrangements? Was it the failure to appear before the committee? Was it signing the petition in herself? But it was also important to note that the likes of Senator Ireti Kingibe said that Senator Natasha, despite being a first-timer, enjoyed a lot of privileges. Many also say that her emergence into the Senate following the judgments that led to it saw her miss out on the orientation. It might have been some of the reasons why she's not quite abreast with the rules of the Senate. Let's listen to Senator Chris Ekpeyong, and then we'll come back to this conversation.
Yeah, my name is Senator Christopher Ekpeyong, former Deputy Governor of Akwa Ibom State, 1999 to 2006. Senator Akpabio took over from us as the governor of Akwa Ibom State and ruled very well for 8 years. It's called an uncommon transformer, and indeed it's really an uncommon transformer. I am surprised because I spent 4 good years in the Senate of the Republic of Nigeria, on 9 Senate. And I contributed a lot. If you go to YouTube, you will see my contributions. In terms of empowerment, you will see also I made. And so when you talk about order, I want to talk it shortly. Order 10. Order 10 provided, though it provide for you to exercise your right by saying, I want to speak on a matter of, privilege. But you don't sit outside your seat, or you don't state anything outside their seat. And the Senate President and the Senate leadership have the right to relocate their seats at any time without notice. They relocated my seat, and I didn't quarrel. That did not suggest that the Senate President call me throughout the lifespan of the Senate to speak. Anywhere I sat, I lifted my hand, and the Senate President would call me, the single Senator Christopher Akpabio, Akpabio West, and I stood up to speak. So for the Senate President, and when the gavel is up, you don't have any say. You've been rolled out of context. So for a lady of that nature to come out to the Senate and try to deduce the Senate as if it was a chapel. The Senate is a place of the Lords. It's the House of Lords. That's why you have the House of Rep, and the young men goes there, and they do a lot of things. I'm not discrediting them, and we just laugh over this way. We don't even put our mind and heart, our mind and eyes over there, whatever they do. And that is why we don't even confront the ministers and other people the way the House of Rep confront, because we do it with dignity. And so, and the Senate President is first among equal. He is also a senator, but first among equal. The gavel, as soon as he takes that seat, must respect him. So, for her to make a lot of noise, as this cacophony, and says Senator Akpabio defamed her, did this, I don't think it is. It is applicable. Well, she should face the ethic and disciplinary committee. In the first instance, refusing to be on her seat. If somebody like other senators who were off, a ranking senator, I was always called ranking by age, by distinguished senator among the female folks, like Senator Betty Akpafi. Senator Uduaghan sat in front of me and will always turn her eyes and say, distinguished senator, please lift up your hand and speak, because the Senate President respects you. And of course, she was a either second timer, in the Senate, but that was the first timer. But you could see the kind of aroma, the kind of relationship I do that with the people, and So, for me, she should face the disciplinary committee. That is the Ethics and Disciplinary Committee of the Senate. I did everything I could to prevent my being suspended from the Senate. If Senator Ndume could be suspended even before in the 8th Senate, and then further suspended in this, I think it's not suspended in the 10th Senate. It's only Senator Ninki who have been there, a ranking senator of the PDP, origin. So she should not be an exception. And such allegation she is making is amorphous. It doesn't hold water. Because in the Senate, we are all equal, whether men or women. We are all equal. In the 9th Senate, we have Senator Ukunife, a very agile senator, chairman of Science Committee of the Senate. We have Senator Odua. I think she was, I don't know which committee she headed, but I was a member of the 10 committees of the Senate. I never lobbied for. Local content that she's putting in contest, and Senator Tassim from York was the chairman. So, but then it doesn't hold water, it doesn't make sense. I also, going to discuss issue with the clerk of the Senate, the clerk of the committee, for saying that they gave 900,000 naira and they want to decimate it, give her some money and give others and that. The norms of the Senate is there. She should follow the norms of the Senate and not discredit the institution at all. So even with that alone, she should face the Ethics and Disciplinary Committee of the Senate.
Most distinguished Senator Christopher Akpabio talking about his time in the 9th Assembly, and also urging Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan to face the committee other than go about it the route in which she is going about it. He also stated the norms of the Senate Once the gavel is up, you cannot continue speaking, which we did see Natasha Akpoti flout. Now, Chijoke has some breaking information this morning to share with us, and then we'll go back to Moses in a bit.
Certainly, on a very sad note, we hear that Dr. Doyin Okukwe, a Nigerian physician, politician, and former presidential aide, has died at the age of 72. Now, sources say he had been critically ill for weeks, with his health deteriorating. He succumbed to cancer after a long battle. May his soul rest in peace. Well, let's see if we can rejoin Mr. Chris or rejoin Moses Idika, I beg your pardon, on the line to still lend his thoughts with us on some of these pertinent issues in the news. Are you back with us, Mr. Idika?
Yeah, good morning again. I hope you can hear me now.
We can hear you loud and clear. You were making a point, and one of the questions I was about to ask you just before you had disconnected was the fact that prior to her suspension and even prior to the sexual harassment allegation made by Senator Natasha Akpoti and leveled against the Senate President, there had been issues of her being disgruntled over her removal from a certain juicy committee, as we know it, and that led to her outburst at some point, and of course the seat reassignment, which further exacerbated the entire matter. Do you think, or do you still think, that perhaps the Nigerian Senate sending Natasha on a 6-month-long suspension is in a bid to silence her, or rather in a bid to make her understand the rules and guidelines and discipline surrounding the Nigerian Senate?
From the point of her conduct as a public official, as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the National Assembly is the highest lawmaking body in the country. I think there should be some sense of decorum in our public display of emotions as leaders, because people look up to us. However, I insist that the 6-month suspension is an overkill, in that we remember the last time someone was suspended in the Senate, it was for 3 months. And a lot of people raised issues that 3 months was too long. Now you are going 6 months. 6 months is more like an indefinite suspension. So I think that despite her unsavory conduct, I believe it should be reduced. The number of days, months of suspension should be reduced. And also, the Senate should really kick in their internal dispute resolution mechanism, because I believe that it has not been explored enough. Like I was saying earlier, I think that Senator Akpoti has already sees herself as someone who has already been boxed into a corner. It's like it's she against the Nigerian Senate. So when people say, when the Committee on Ethics and Privileges says that she refused to appear, I think that she doesn't seem to think that she's going to get justice from the committee, because she thinks that everybody in the Senate, and of course most committee leadership in the Senate, are also pandering to the interest and opinion of the President of the Senate, who actually has the power of iron and fire as far as committee leadership is concerned. So I think that there are areas in the Senate. Senate is populated by former governors, former retired civil servants, top diplomats, and the rest. So there should really be a diplomatic way of resolving it, because this is actually not just about Natasha Akpoti, it is also about the Nigerian Senate. And it's sending a lot of mixed signals to Nigerians, to women, to international community. So I believe there should be more tact on the part of the Senate in resolving the crisis.
Now, following her suspension, announcements were made that all her privileges, allowances, and salaries will be withheld. But one major bone of contention here is the fact that her security aids would also be withdrawn from her. You know, a statement that had sparked of some sort of argument, especially by former Senate President Ahmed Lawan, who had pleaded with the distinguished Senate President, talking about Senator Godswill Akpabio, to temper justice with mercy. Do you still think that maybe, in as much as all these other things have been taken away from Natasha, perhaps her security details or details should still remain with her, considering the volatility and security situation of the country?
The fact of the matter is that Senator Natasha Akpoti remains an elected member of the Nigerian Senate, irrespective of her suspension. And all the privileges, until she's recalled or nature takes its toll on her, maybe death or any other thing, she remains a senator and she should be protected. Kogi State today, Kogi State has 3 senators, and Natasha Akpoti is one of them, and so she should be protected. And we also know that as a politically exposed person, she has had all this very serious altercation with the ruling party in her state, which is the AP. She's of the People's Democratic Party, an opposition lawmaker. So she's even more endangered. So that is why I said it was an overkill. You know, withdrawing her security details, stripping her of every privileges as a senator for the next 6 months. Anything can happen. So how would the Senate explain it? So I believe that the Senate should do more. The Senate should also show sympathy as people, as lawmakers, because even in the law court, like you said, in the law courts, lawyers will tell judges to tamper justice with mercy, especially sometimes for first offenders.
Mr. Moses Idika,
it is really an overkill.
Mr. Moses Idika, I don't know if you followed the position of the senator representing Kogi West, Senator Sunday Karimi, where he explained how Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan came into being chairman of that committee. He told the Senate and Nigerians who were watching live yesterday that he personally lobbied, and despite initial concerns from the leadership of the National Assembly, they granted his request to give a first-timer in Senator Natasha Akpoti a chance to chair the committee. He also went on to tell the Senate how that act of kindness on his part was greeted by disrespect and insults from Senator Natasha. He received an apology from the leadership of the National Assembly yesterday. However, his position on the matter was that she made it look as though it was meritoriously earned, forgetting the fact that a lot of persons had to chew their words to allow her a first-timer chair the committee. And now, even after the likes of Senator Ireti Kingibe had their seats changed 4 times, she almost felt entitled. Do you see the position of a certain Senator Sunday Karimi as being subservient to allow his member or his colleague from the same state enjoy a position in which he would have taken for her to take a now turn into an insult?
No, the thing is that our lawmakers, the problem with Nigerian politicians is that they seem to arrogate so much powers to themselves, so much importance to themselves. The Senate is an institution that has its rules, including those guiding how members are allocated committees. The fact that Senator Natasha Akpoti is a first-time lawmaker does not make her incapable of handling any committee. In fact, after some time, any of them can be elected to even become the president of the Senate or the Speaker of the House, as the case may be. And Akpoti herself, she is also an outstanding Nigerian. So every member of the Senate, every senator has the right and privilege of being a member of the committee. The leadership, chairmanship or vice chairmanship of the committee is the prerogative of the chairman of the selection committee or the selection committee, which is headed by the president of the Senate and his deputy. So I think that Senator Karimi saying that he was disrespected after helping the other woman to get a leadership of the committee is neither here nor there. What would you want? What would he have wanted the woman to do? So when you give people, because as an oversighting arm of the government, you should allow everybody in the committee to do the job according to their ability and according to the rules that guide such responsibilities. But when you think that because you helped me to become a chairman of the committee, everything I have to come and take orders from you or whatever you say, I can't disagree with you. Let him give details of what happened between him and the senator. So I don't think it's necessary. That is why I'm saying that the woman already feels that she is the only one against the entire Senate. And that is why whatever the Committee on Ethics and Privileges may be saying cannot apply, because they have all become very, very confrontational with her. I haven't seen a lawmaker who has dispassionately spoken about, saving the Senate from the public opprobrium that the whole crisis is talking about. Everybody's just talking about the woman.
Well, Mr. Idika, the Senate President has given a window for some sort of reconciliation for this particular matter, citing that this suspension, the 6-month suspension, might be reconsidered and the senator reinstated with all her rights and privileges and salaries and allowances if she would only apologize in writing to the Nigerian Senate. Do you see this happening, or do you see Natasha holding her head high and serving her punishment?
Well, humility does not necessarily mean a weakness. And I think at the appropriate time, and if the appropriate things are done, if the appropriate avenues of dispute resolution are explored, I think that writing and apologizing to the Senate will not be an issue. The lawmaker, Senator Akpoti, is not bigger than the Nigerian Senate. The Nigerian Senate is an institution that will outlive every member of the Senate today, every member of the National Assembly today. National Assembly will outlive them. So it's an institution that has its own life, and no individual, not even the chairman of the National Assembly, which is the president of the Senate, is above that institution. So writing an apology to the Senate, of course, it will be a welcome development. Whether we like it or not, Nigerian Senate is on trial, courtesy of these allegations. So I think that she will be saving not just herself, but the Senate. But what happens is that the Senate's leadership itself and her colleague should also have an open mind. Let there be genuine reconciliation so that such things will not happen again. So for me, I think that I don't see her, holding on recalcitrantly against the Senate as an institution. No, she is a member of that institution, and every member of an institution must be ready at all times to abide by the rules guiding that institution. But that does not mean that the institution should also become oppressive against an individual or any of its members.
Now let's leave the 10th Assembly and move to Rivers State. Now, following the Supreme Court judgment, a delay in the certified true copies of the judgment had sparked a lot of reactions. But today, one of the newspapers so graciously presented us with the CCT. Now, the Supreme Court has said that there is no concrete evidence to show that the 27 lawmakers, as accused of defection, did indeed defect. Whilst that is the case, we're seeing militant groups also issuing threats that should this debacle affect the governorship of Sir Siminalayi Fubara, that they would halt Nigeria's oil production. A threat which is not sitting lightly with our security forces. In respect to these developments, what's your take on the situation in Rivers State?
Well, thank God that the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, has now spoken. But the problem we have, some of us, with the ruling of the Supreme Court is that it has not helped the Nigerian political situation, whereby people get elected and then the next day they move out to another political party. It's not doing a democratizing process any good, in that political parties, politics is ordinarily ruled by ideas, ruled by ideologies. So if people do not have ideologies, like people say in our normal parlance, everywhere belle face, does it mean that the political party is not what it should be? In other climes, people believe in certain political parties based on the programs and ideas espoused by the constitution and the conventions of those political parties. So, but in Nigeria, you see the cross-carpeting has become a norm that anyone can move at any point in time without recourse to the system that brought them. Because INEC, from everything we know, does not, when you go to vote, they only put the party logo, not the individual. Meaning that the mandate is the mandate of the party. We saw what happened in Rivers State at the beginning, where some people came out en masse to say that they are defecting from PDP to the APC. Perhaps the people on the side of the governor were too fast because it didn't seem to have been consummated, I mean the defection. So, but that said, I think that it is time for political differences to be set aside and Rivers State saved from impending danger. Because if this thing is not properly handled, we don't know what could happen. We remember historically the Operation White of the Southwest that was what led to them being called Wild West. It brought down the entire system then in the 60s. So we don't want such situation. Nigerian democracy should be growing. It shouldn't be regressing, because it seems to be regressing.
No.
Whereby the individual.
Yeah, carry on, Mr. Idika.
Okay, whereby individuals seem to become more powerful than the institution of governance itself. Because what is happening in Rivers State is more or less ego fight between the governor and his former boss, the Minister of FCT. So the state politically have now been polarized, those who are with Fubara and those who are with Wike. And these people, in the next 2 years, Wike may stop being the Minister of FCT, Fubara may not be governor of Rivers State, and Rivers State will still continue. So,
well, Mr. Idika, still talking about pro-Fubara and pro-Wike PDP members. Of course, we hear that tensions are rising in the state of Rivers as the 48-hour ultimatum issued by the Right Honorable Matthew Amaule led 27-man State House of Assembly given to the governor Sasiminalai Fubara has expired for him to re-represent the 2025 budget. With this expiration already at hand, do you see any rift happening between the governor and the Speaker of the House of Assembly, considering the tensions already brewing politically in the state?
Well, it may seem as though network has not allowed for Moses Idika to finally share his parting thoughts with us on the issue.
Yeah.
But in regards to what he said before the network let him go, it's on the position of INEC in registering political parties on the ballots. Now, the House of Reps in all the news has taken a step to address some of the clauses in the oversight of the independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. A bill seeking to remove INEC's oversight power on registration of political parties has scaled second reading. The bill is also proposing that an independent body be in charge of regulating and registering political parties. It's with the hope that this bill would in some way bring light to issues where we see in Rivers that it has somewhat deteriorated in a working relationship between the House of Assembly and the executive arm of government.